Why is this good for?
Camera's on.
Yeah, did say, okay. Okay, so, we are going to post public hearing, discuss the budget. What I'd like to do is give some recommendations, based on the, public hearing, where we actually did get a couple questions, and, I think they were satisfied with the answers. So what we're looking at with the budget is I did a preliminary tax cap calculation. I didn't put any exemptions in, I just did the raw number. And the raw number comes out to $3,058,791 for the village. I'll pass this around if you want to take a quick look at it, and it probably is, it's just kind of spreadsheet gobbledygook. But this gives us the most, without exemptions. I'm going to put in the exemptions for some items that we're qualified for, and that will help our number. I'd like us to leave a little bit of a buffer and not go right to the penny if we can afford to, because we will never lose it, we can always carry it over. Last year, we carried over about 18,000, and I'm not saying we have to do that this year, but I would like us to have a little bit of a cushion there, okay? So I'll pass that along, that's just a tax cap. Okay, so, couple modifications to the budget. Two of them are spreadsheet error, which I mentioned earlier, but it doesn't affect the overall totals. It does affect fund balance, but fund balance, the goal I believe the board needs to have is to have a 200,000 fund balance appropriation, and no more. That also is with the consideration that with a plus up of the contingency to 100,000, if we have a good year and we're only use half of the contingency, then we have 150,000 utilization of fund balance instead of 200. So a lot of it will be based on, how the year goes. Are we gonna have a heavy snow? Are we gonna have to put money in for the snow removal? I think you have a pretty healthy snow removal budget. But even this year, we had a pretty healthy snow removal budget, and if you didn't have one, we would have been really blown out. Okay, so overall, that worked out okay. All right, so let's just flip through. I'm going to just go to a couple pages. First page is 2 of 2 on the revenue page for a fund. So that's 2 of 2. On the interfund transfer line, that's going to go up 26,000. That's an additional 26,000 from sewer and water for admin fees, okay? So that puts your 70 to 96 on the revenue side. And that 96 is going to help defray the costs of A fund expenses supporting F and G fund items, okay? That's insurance, administrative charge to process bills, to take care of receipts from sewer and water payments, that the A fund through salaries for the ladies and the village clerk, they expend energies for those departments, and this is how they're gonna get compensated for it. I would recommend the board strongly consider doing a budget adjustment this year for the same amount of money, even though it's not in a budget, because you have all agreed that it's a fair transfer because those expenses are had.
But what about the expense of the utilization of manpower?
For like public works and so on?
You use DPW for sewer and water.
If we can get a department head to aggregate what hours were spent by person, so we have some backup, we can do a budget adjustment for those departments.
I want to cover that tomorrow when we meet.
Okay, but the department heads need to be able to
Right.
produce that,
Right.
okay? All right. So I would recommend that, that we consider, it's not going to be 96,000, because you've already got 13,000 each department put in. But you're probably looking at maybe $66,000 of budget adjustment to the A fund from those two funds to cover insurance for payments for this year, that legally you could move into the A fund because those were expended amounts, okay? All right, going into page 2 of 7 on the A fund expense side. Okay, right now we're sitting at fund balance of just under 350,000. Now, I know the sheet says 300, but it's plussed up because of this, of a spreadsheet issue with the police, central communications, where the tentative didn't transfer over to the, the requested didn't transfer to the tentative, so I had to make up for that, and that's in fund balance, okay? It doesn't affect your overall rate per thousand, but it does affect fund balance. At the end of the day, we need to get the fund balance down to 200,000 is my recommendation, okay? So, if we go to 2 of 7, I'd like us to consider, since we plussed up engineer for your water and sewer, I'd like us to deduct from 45 to 35 the engineering for the A fund, because you're gonna need that money. And since you're already accepting that water and sewer are gonna pay for their own engineering,
Okay, right.
I don't think you need 45,000
I
here,
agree.
it's money that
Okay.
you could utilize against your fund balance, okay? All right, so that's the first one. Next, we go to 3 of 7, and this is where I'm gonna show you the spreadsheet error. If you look on central communications, you have zeros where it should be 10,450, 440, and 26,252. They all need to push over to that line. That totals 37,142, okay, and that is just added to the fund balance line that you have on page 1, which is the total aggregate page, okay? Again, this has no impact on your overall bottom line number, but it is impacting the amount of fund balance, okay? But when we get done, you'll find that all that will revert us back to 200,000, okay? All right, so next we go to, just below that is police department, okay? I recommend that the 30,000 allocated for a car be considered removed, because you can't afford it right now, okay? So I'm gonna drop 30,000 off of there, and you're gonna be at 17,240, 274.
Now, is that 30,000, are we still putting 10 in the,
Yes,
okay, so it's 10 plus the 30.
vehicle reserve is getting 10.
Okay, that's fine.
30's coming out of the equipment
Yeah,
line.
well, this
Done.
one
We
was
had,
for
we had
next
said
year.
that was gonna be the first, one of the first things.
Yeah.
The 2 vehicles were first things.
Well, he's got 7 cars and.
I was talking to
a number of
PJ
them have
today,
low
though.
mileage,
He's
like
got
50,000.
He's got 2 cars now, that's all. 2 cars in service. He's actually using the detective's car because it's the only thing that's up and running. Both Durangos are down, or whatever they are down, as well as one of the cars. I would suggest that we look at possibly, and this is only because we're in a situation with these vehicles, bring the chief's car into rotation. Because it has the lowest miles, it has the lowest, it's not been used as a police car,
Right.
it's just used as a go-between.
Right.
And we can still give Kenny one of the police cars with all the mileage on, because really he's just going home and coming here.
Well, again, and with the
Some of the
board,
cars-
Isn't there
didn't
another
have a lot
one
of
just
mileage on it.
like his?
That's the detective's car, that's in use right now.
well, with the
Oh.
boards,
No,
with your new
you can get
potential
some.
discussion of the new policy of all this stuff with vehicles, that might be helpful.
Well, we can put it in rotation
Should
now,
they
as long as we give him
trade?
something. That, it doesn't say he has to have
Yeah.
this car or that car. So we can do that now, and then come, once we redo the contracts, and we can do that, we'll talk about that in exec, but we can talk about whatever difference in that. But I suggest we do that relatively soon, because it's just a vehicle not being used. And it could be, we could utilize it so much better and not worry about having a car. That's one of the biggest problems that Ed saw over the last couple of months, was a serious amount of bills for repair on these vehicles.
Showing up on our insurance discussion today
Yes.
also. It's an area where we're probably gonna take increase because of the amount of repairs. Now, one thing I would consider the board maybe consider is incentivizing the departments that proper care and protection of the vehicles will get more loose policy as far as replacements. If the things get abused, don't replace them. You know what? That's what you got. You're not taking care of it, that's what's gonna happen.
What kind of things have been happening to?
You have, hang on, let me grab
But
it.
understand, this is nothing new.
Yeah.
This is not something that's happened this year. When I talked to, way before I got involved, 15 years ago plus, they were talking about dropping trannies like they were going out of style. 4 or 5 trannies in the summer, and they didn't blink. The problem is you don't own a vehicle, you don't
care.
You don't treat it like that. And it's not that they're bad people, and that's not that they're bad drivers, that's just human nature.
They're not paying
But the
for it.
bottom line is we have to, as Ed said, and one, incentivize, and two, explain to them, the money's run out. You know, if you don't take care of them, you know what? 5 of you will be sharing a vehicle, and that's it.
We have about $60,000 in paid claims on vehicle accidents. Okay, and that's 6 incidents, 5 or 6 incidents. That's out of the gate.
In 1 year?
1 year.
That's not acceptable.
Okay. I believe it's 1 year. Should be 1 year.
As far as the chief's vehicle,
It's 2
since
years.
that's new, and the detective's vehicle, which looks just like it,
Yeah.
just
Yeah, so
switch
these
those
two.
two?
I will put both of them.
It's
in
actually
rotation.
over aggregate. It's
And-
60
and
over,
give-
over the
I will
5-year
give them a regular
period.
police car.
But it's
But
recently,
when you
it's
say
30.
rotation, don't our police on road duty have to be in marked cars?
Brian, you
No.
wanna say?
They
See,
utilize
we
the other
look
ones.
to you for
Insurance.
I don't believe so.
No?
The police vehicle, the chief's vehicle, to my knowledge, has all the, and we can ask Anthony this when we get a chance, but it has all the necessary things for him to pull somebody over.
I've been pulled over by him.
Oh, yeah, 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 I agree.
I don't think, and I'm not saying have just those 2 on duty. Today, the 2 on duty were a regular car and that car. So I'm not saying just have those 2 on, but if we rotate the newer car in, it may give us
Some
an extra
time.
year or
Yeah,
so
buy some time.
to build up and maybe not put so much into if we take the oldest cars, it's not a punishment, this is a survival. The oldest cars, if Ken was only going back and forth, mainly only going back and forth to home, that one's not gonna need a ton of things fixed on it.
Yeah.
Whereas if these guys are speeding around trying to get something, things are gonna continue to break on these older cars. The newer car is gonna take a lot less damage when they're speeding around in it. It's just the way it is. I mean, I'll tell you what, I'll take Kevin Hurst's truck and put it in rotation with the cops, if it means we're not gonna be spending the money to fix it every 5 minutes.
Do you have a mechanic?
Yeah.
Do you get reports?
Now we
We're gonna be
will.
talking about that tomorrow. It is, as Charlie asked, it's over 5 years, 60. Over the last 2 years,
9 o'clock.
it has been 30. Okay, now, this doesn't include
The
the
loader?
04,
Oh,
the 04 contractual for all the cars getting transmissions fixed, damage fixed and so on, that fell under the deductible and so on. I reviewed with the mayor the other day, just that fund alone, I think it's a 5110 or 5140, $30,000 were expended out of a fund that was budgeted for 120, just on automotive-related things. Mawa, Ford, Durham's Auto Parts, and some of it's probably completely fine, but some of it is, I don't think was budgeted for. I just think, oh, you know what, we gotta fix this. We gotta, one of the bills was for chains, some type of hoist chains and stuff like that were cheap.
$4 grand or something. he
Yeah,
said,
that wasn't
yeah.
small money.
Yeah.
So, so out of that fund, we were, it was originally, yeah, it's 5110.04. We are now overspent in that.
What page is that in?
I'm looking at the revenue expense control report, but it would be page, in this, it would be page 4 of 7. Street maintenance contractual. Yeah, street maintenance contractual. Street maintenance contractual, the original budget was 125.5. We did a budget adjustment to try to pay bills because we're over, went up to 127. We've already spent 128, and I've got a pile of stuff on my desk that still has to be sorted out. That comes up to about $30,000.
Now, how much work to the cop cars are we getting done through the highway department?
From what I can tell, it seems like a lot of stuff's being outsourced.
Yeah.
That's gotta stop.
And I don't know if it's beyond the capabilities of the DPW mechanic or if there's other reasons. I have no idea.
Where does that come out of? Does that come out of the DPW?
The,
Or was Kenny, that in Kenny's budget?
no, if DPW is working on a police car,
Right.
it's coming out of the A fund.
What about, yeah, well,
It's not coming out of his, now they're both A fund anyway, but it's
but
not
let's talk water
necessarily-
sewer. When they're working on you gave me a good point.
Yeah.
When they're working on a water sewer truck.
Yeah, then.
Again, we need to make
The A
sure that
funds,
goes to
the A
that fund.
funds probably paying for a lot of it. I'd have to go bill by bill, but I suspect
Just so I
that
don't
that's not
forget.
being costed.
I was talking to somebody, I forget. They're telling me that Pat Patterson has approached a gentleman that's a mechanic for the bus company about being part-time for the town to save them a ton of money. And I think we need to look at that possibly too, because if there are limitations with our mechanic and there are limitations with their mechanic, because they have their own, supposedly this guy does it all, and he's phenomenal. And we may want to consider pulling him part-time for something, at least to look at it, because Pat's already talked to him about working for the town. Maybe we'll work something in the town where, between the two, we can
He
get him
was
as
West Point
part-time.
Tours?
I think he did, I don't know if they've downsized a lot, so I don't know if he works there anymore, but he's local.
Well, I
Let's
think,
hear it.
I will tell you this. I don't know if the village is using work orders for the mechanic, but if they're not, you need to start.
Walter, I thought Walter was capable. I mean,
I was told he was.
And he might be,
Yeah.
but it just seems to me that some of the stuff, maybe he's busy, maybe he has too much going on that he can't work on it.
Is he
I don't-
being pressed into other things other
I
than
have
being a
no-
mechanic? I'm not-
There was a
just
point
wondering.
where he was, but
I
I
know
don't
that,
think there
yeah.
is now.
Okay.
Yeah, he might, was he snowplow?
He is a plower, but there's also times where he was working with regular DPW, but not when he had
Work to do.
vehicles pending.
Right,
He also was doing the computer work.
right.
Some. He was doing all of it, right, or when the exchange went, but now it's half and half. He does some of it, he answers the phones, but he stays down there because he's working the, we need to go down and do an evaluation of
Right.
what's going on.
How much is being done?
The other thing, when I look at the bills, I know that for the front loader, obviously we can't keep it local. There's only 2 in the state that we can work on. But when I see our regular cars going to Mawa, Ford, I think we have 5 mechanics in town. I
Yeah.
think we also need to press for that, is to stay local. One, have these mechanics locally guarantee us a better price. And say, look, if we bring our work to you, just give us a better price. And you know what? We're not gonna pay you this, we're not gonna pay you for 2 more weeks because you have to wait for this. I think we're getting a lot better leeway locally as well as supporting our local business.
The extent of the work that was done in Mawa, do we know what that was?
It's in the bills.
Okay, yeah. I just.
But it comes up, Mawa particularly, but the thing with, it comes up, it's not a one-time thing.
No, I know that.
But the problem in my mind is, you're taking 2 guys to take a vehicle out, because you gotta drive back.
Think about,
Now you gotta go out there, you're taking 2 more guys, and you're talking, a good 40 minutes. So now that's half your day.
Plus you've got a lot of towing bills, so.
And they're towing it out, because it can't be driven out there.
yeah.
And that's, to me, we can get free towing in town, if we work with the, 2 or 3 of the guys that have towing, we can say, look, tow the car, you're getting to work with us, and that kills a towing bill. And again, we're supporting our local,
Yeah, you just
business.
had Mickey Big, there was just,
Yeah.
it
Mickey
was
Biggs,
like
yeah.
375 invoice, or towing invoice, so.
How come we didn't use Bosch?
that's, we have to,
I don't
just
know.
like we did with the police when we first came in with 5 or 6 different, now it's time for DPW. You have to go in there and look, because you know what, they're doing what they did yesterday and the day before. We have to really look and see what's going on and bring down what we want. Keep it local. The only time I wanna see it going out local is if you got a nice adjustment. And then if that's the case, did you go back to the local and say, these guys are doing it for $100 less? Are you working with me? They'll work with you. There's no
Yeah.
way somebody up there, because then, now you're talking time, mileage, everything else. It's gonna work to our favor. We've got to set parameters for our DPW and our water and sewer. The DPW that's our next big
Yeah, you
step.
gotta give the local guys a chance to come back, and, I think that it's really gonna come from the management of those departments.
Right.
And that's part of the discussion tomorrow. So, okay, so the police car is off. All right, so page 4 of 7, I added a line, other public safety. This is to cover the property maintenance. There's gonna be no money put into it, but it's gonna be for your purposes to be able to monitor how much money is going to clean up somebody's property that they're not taking care of, so that it gets re-levied and then you get it back later. We're gonna have a code for that, because this year, over $50,000 was expended on property maintenance issues, knocking down, demolition, that skews a little bit of your spending, because you're spending stuff that you normally wouldn't have, but in the proper order of the village, you do it and you get it back the next year, okay? So we're gonna have the other public safety line in here. I didn't touch any, as far as recommend anything else on some of the individual stuff. I know that the fire department was really intent on increasing their items, but I do wanna let you know that it's increased the fire department's budgets went up almost 20% based on these things. And again, I'm not arguing the merits, I'm just giving you the facts. It's a 20% increase. Snow removal is, I think, fine. I'm not gonna recommend anything there.
Do we need to put more into salt and get it ahead of time? I mean, it doesn't go bad, does
Where do
it?
you store it? Do
That's
you have
the
enough
problem.
room to store it?
Yeah, where you put it.
Well, we're already getting guff from the town, just so you know that also. We're already getting some pushback from the town that they don't wanna share that area.
For salt storage?
Came to me the other day.
Why,
Why?
because they think we're taking their salt?
I believe so. Just, it's out there, so maybe we need to also, bottom line, we don't wanna build anything now, we don't have the money, we don't do it. We're talking about consolidation, but with that, do we need a bigger area up there? Right now, we share it, is there enough room for it? Do we need a bigger area, should we be looking,
Aren't
should
there a
we be
couple-
having Al?
Aren't there a couple
Grant.
bays though over there?
What's
Aren't
that?
there a couple bays?
In that salt shed, there
Yeah.
is.
So how come just village, town? I don't know why it's so difficult to
Is-
segregate
Is
it.
that much, did they go through the whole building's worth of salt in the winter?
Oh, yeah, they did, yeah,
Or
because they
or
were,
go-
They had to pull in.
they had
That's what I'm
individual,
saying.
So,
they had
okay.
individual trucks going.
Okay.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
don't know what
saying,
you
is that, are we better off seeing if we get, not spending tax dollars per se, putting that on our grant wish list, because we did have to go out for several trucks at a much higher rate than if we got it previous and stored it. Would you want to give up the land to put a shed on it to store it?
I think you wanna try to stay away from salt
Okay.
because of the DEC issues related to that.
Runoff.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
very corrosive and it's not, no good comes out of it, to be honest with you. It's like elevators. If you can avoid elevators, you do.
Elevators, man.
Yeah. You know, I remember the library was talking about an elevator. I mentioned to Gus, I said, why? You guys have
Well,
access
that-
in the back.
Yeah, they have handicap access all
You
around
know,
the
because
building.
it's not the cost of the elevator, it's the cost of the maintenance.
Right.
Okay, and that's a factor, so, okay, so again, I didn't delve into a lot of the details as to the merits of how much should be going to the parks and so on, but I did look at on page 6 of 7, and I know I'll probably get pushback on this, but I really think with the senior center right now, you wanna get more donations. And I recommend maybe another 5 off of that to 15,000.
That's gonna be kinda close, I think.
I actually agree.
I agree, but.
No, but we can always pull it. It's not going anywhere. We can pull it later.
Well,
but
you
I
have a
think-
contingency.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If the money's not going anywhere, but the less we show,
Oh,
the better it is as far as pulling into, I agree with you 100%. We're still having the money, we're not putting it in another fund and we're spending it. We're putting in contingency, we have it in, it's going in a backup fund. But the less we have in there to show, that we can put it out to the public, by the way, you people who haven't given, it's time, you know? I actually agree with that, but it's up to you guys, I'm for that.
But we still have, what, 70, how much from the grant money is left?
The second grant,
Yeah,
I don't think really much of it was spent yet. I don't really,
Which second, yeah, nothing
well,
was
the
spent yet.
second, and some is left from the first.
We
So-
do have
no,
some
the
money
first
for
grant
first
paid for the building.
That
Oh,
was
yeah,
200,000.
oh,
No,
but
but-
we've gotten two $50,000 grants.
I don't think we've spent
Oh,
any of that.
We haven't gotten any yet.
We haven't gotten it.
We haven't physically gotten the money.
The
That's
money
why I
we've
was
been
looking at you, because I
yeah.
don't
The
remember the
money, the
money
money
at
we've been
all.
spending is the money we budgeted, tax dollars.
Correct.
From last year. No grant money, with the exception of 200,000, the next 100,000 we haven't spent, and that has to, none of, this is only for bills and things like that.
Gas,
Yeah, we-
electric,
and the-
You do have to have enough to start paying
Correct.
the
carrying
project
costs, yeah.
until you get your reimbursement.
Like, I'll tell you right
back.
now, the senior budget has $23,000 in it right now.
That was the 50, out of the 53 that we got.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's what's
that we
remaining.
budgeted.
That you
Correct.
budgeted. Now, what's the likelihood that that's all getting spent in 2 months?
Depending on how the projects go.
Right. Well.
I'm okay with the 23 and the 15, and then if we have to, we do the budget transfer. I think this is something we need
Good
to,
point. Yeah.
we need to keep tight, because here's the thing. We come out again with 20, 25, the seniors are just gonna get more comfortable as in, we need this and that. And we wanna give them everything they can, but this needs to be more of a donation-based fund than tax dollars. You know, particularly when you, after bills, when you start talking about improvements on top of the grants we have, we don't wanna run into, well, we went with $10,000, $8,000. We need to start now putting price tags on that and going out for private funding. So the tax, and if it doesn't happen, we do a budget transfer.
But do we have a good handle on how much we need for heat and
Not yet.
electric?
Not yet.
and
This'll be our first
phone
year.
and TV.
This will be our first year, so what'll happen is, if we run the 15 and it becomes 17, then next year we budget the 20, so we have a little cushion. If we run the 15 and it's 12, we can leave it at 15, because really what we want this to be, the bills. We don't want it to be we want to continuously look for other things. We want the seniors to help us. What are your needs? Okay, help us do this. We don't want them running bake sales every weekend, but there are people out there that will help us to fundraise for them. And we want that to be, as much private money as possible. Unlike our DPW, unlike our police, the senior center is an area we can draw a lot more private funds than public funds.
Okay, let's
Okay.
move
I know.
5 into contingency.
I know.
Okay,
made it, I know you made it.
I'm bouncing around a little bit in this because there's just a couple other things I wanted to just highlight.
You got the 5, right? We took it out?
Right.
I did, I put it out. All right, so, purchasing, I added 9,000 to purchasing because, I was discussing with the village clerk about, personnel. This is 1 of 7, page 1 of 7. I'm bouncing around in expenditures because there's a bunch of things to think about. So, there was a discussion about getting a little bit of bench strength as far as backups for, the administrative side here. You saw a little bit of that with the clerk supporting, your department. Realistically, as backups for purchasing, backups for billing, and all those other things, the village clerk and I discussed this, and we wanted to get a 20-hour basis for a backup, and that if we take the 3,500 out of the mayor's line and 9,000 added to the purchasing line, that gives you a 20-hour part-timer to be able to handle administrative work. And it's really an insurance policy for the board. You get a retirement or you get some type of change, somebody, moves, who knows? You really want to have a person available to know all the other functions, okay?
Right.
So I was gonna recommend we add 9,000 to the purchasing salary line. Now, I was also discussing with the village clerk about, whether or not purchasing should be handling, we're going to activities-based costing, so we wanna know what we're spending on things. Historically, the treasurer's 04 and the village clerk's 04 has been paying for computers, computer support,
Paper.
toner, paper, supplies, Pitney Bowes,
No,
all those things.
You're 100%.
So
We need to make that
the
adjustment.
idea was to move from the village clerk's line to the purchasing line. The treasurer's line I already cleared out because I had computer on there and stuff. I already moved that into the IT line that we've already established. So Gina's working on a total that she believes is fair, and it'll move from the clerk to the 04 purchasing if the board's acceptable of that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Back to, I'm sorry, unallocated insurance, page 3 of 7. After today's insurance meeting, I want to plus up the insurance to 155 versus 150. That gives us a 10% increase factor to protect us. Last year, we took a little bit of a beating right out of the gate when we budgeted 125 and our insurance premium was 142.
Would you say 153?
155.
55.
All right, that gives us approximately 10% cushion. You know, 142 is 14,000, so it's about just maybe a 9% cushion. So we don't kill our contingency out of the gate because we are under funding the insurance. Okay. All right, back to where's the snow? We got past the snow already now. Okay, page 4 of 7. Street administration, under the equipment line, there's $15,000 there for some piece of equipment, I believe. I don't
It's for
remember.
it's for a V. it's a-
Bobcat or
yeah.
something? Okay. I think that needs to be considered whether or not you can afford it right now. I will say this, and this is just my opinion from looking at all the claims and everything like that. I don't recommend the board buy any equipment until the departments can demonstrate that they can take care of what they have, okay? The amount of damages, the amount of issues to your equipment is, quite frankly, alarming to me. And I really believe that there needs to be a demonstration to you guys, the board, that the equipment is gonna be protected as if it's owned by the people driving them, okay? You had the loader have all kinds of issues this year. Glass now is busted, if you didn't already know that. You had trucks banging into other things. Again, it could be purely accidental, but it's a lot of stuff and it's costing money. So I don't know if I'd recommend you buy a Bobcat right now until maybe mid-year, if the contingency's not hit too hard and machines aren't being smacked up around the village. Maybe you guys at mid-year could say, okay, you know what, we'll put 15,000 for the contingency to buy a Bobcat, because it's been demonstrated that Bobcat's not gonna become a casualty either. Okay, just my opinion.
So we're moving that 15 into
No,
contingency?
they need the Bobcat.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding. I think that's I was actually gonna say, I don't wanna see it taken out until you said, relook at it halfway through.
yeah.
I like that idea. We just have to make sure
Something.
when is the best time to purchase it. We don't wanna get too close to winter when they're gonna drive prices up. We wanna look for it now, see what we have, see how much it's gonna be, know that. But I agree with you. I think that all departments should have that kind of, we should be looking at that, saying, we're gonna give you the Bobcat if everything goes well. If not, that 15,000 is gonna be to fix the 3 cars you just wrecked.
Yeah, no accidents, you know, put an incentive out there. The one thing I would say is there's nothing to preclude the departments from getting pricing today
That's what I'm saying. yeah.
and then make a comparison with
Right.
today to next November or whatever.
And have them put exactly what you're talking about, get a report started as of today. Yes, last year it got a little loose, we had this many accidents, we had this much, here's to date, and maybe a 3-month, 6-month, 9-month report of, we've only had 1 accident, it was because, God came down and grabbed my vehicle, but not a major, it was just a little fender bender, that's it. 6 months out, now we only had still the 1, no other accident. I agree, I think that is a good way to put the incentive toward them, and keep dangling it out there, put it out there.
Yeah,
Bobcat's
yeah.
coming, you guys are doing well, don't mess up.
Well, you know, it's kind of like this. Well, you're either going to pay for a Bobcat or you're going to pay for
There's only
repairs.
so much money in the budget.
Right?
Bang.
So if we're going to pay for repairs, you don't get a Bobcat. No repair issues, okay, we can buy a piece of equipment, because we saved the money.
How much money on the repair equipment, about? How much money do they spend on repairs?
Repairs, just in a bunch of invoices that I looked at recently, was
Just got it.
30 grand.
But that's for everything, that includes police, water, sewer, everything. And that's the other thing we wanna make sure we cut out.
It is, yeah, I would say it's mainly,
Mainly DPW, but included everything.
Yeah.
That's the other thing we wanna do as we move forward, is make sure that we, even though they're both in the A line, we need to see it clearer that this was for police, this was DPW, and then make sure the sewer and water gets put in the sewer and water.
Oh, yeah, look, the police department is getting a benefit from DPW work, and they're technically not in, it's not in their budget, okay? So,
My idea with the Department of Public Works, figure out how much they owe and say, this is what you gotta reach. This is your goal, this is your goal. If not, then there'll be no budgeting.
you can't buy any
Yes.
equipment.
Right. I think part of the issue is that you sit here as the members of this board and you make these pronouncements, and they don't have any skin in the game. You want skin in the game?
Mhm.
Then this is one of your goals.
Yeah.
I think every department should have a goal.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you can't meet your goal, then whoever's the department head, I guess you're not doing your job because you're not meeting your goals.
Has to be accountable,
Right.
absolutely.
So I say that every single department head has a goal, and the goal is that you've got to save money in this year. How you do it is up to you, but you will have across my desk every 3 months
Progress.
progress and how you've saved it, and how in the next 3 months, what are you going to save? Tell me now.
And in defense of the fire department,
I just,
we do
I
that.
wasn't weighing in, I just put out there that
So you're leaving the 15 in?
I'm gonna be fair.
No, we're taking it out, and putting it into contingency, right?
Okay,
Where are we
It's,
putting
it's gonna come out, the 100,000 contingency is there
right.
to support it if you don't experience the damage claims
Right.
and everything else related. So it's gonna, this 15,000 is gonna bring your fund balance down 15,000, your contribution of appropriated fund balance, okay? So that's okay, so we're gonna remove that.
And I guess another thing, and I'll be quiet.
No.
for a while. Once your department head meets, he meets or she meets with all their people. And this is something that they get a copy of.
Yes,
And
because
guess
everybody's
what?
gotta know, that's not happening.
That's their job, is to make sure that funding comes back to the men. The men need to realize, and women need to realize, that you have an obligation to make sure that, well, it's not mine. If that's the case, you're not seeing it coming through. I'm asking that every single department have goals, and goals, every single one of them, and they all get an economic goal.
Absolutely, that's part of their job.
Right, and if they can't cut that, then I guess what happens is, that's where we start talking about, we need to have meetings. Not with all the department heads, just the department heads who aren't meeting their goals. And the question is, why aren't you? Is this job too much for you?
Yep.
Now, when I was in schools, we had department heads, it was the same thing, Spanish, chemistry, whatever it was, everybody had an economic goal. And you came in the beginning of the year, this is the money you have. This is all the money you're getting. It's up to you now. And then each department head talked to the department members, and I got a memo on it, what was discussed. I didn't want it word for word, what was discussed, I want to know.
Okay.
This is craziness, this is absolutely insane. And then it's gonna get to be all those SOBs, whatever they call you, they're always doing this. Well, now we're gonna give it back to you. That's your job. And if you do a good job, then we can say, okay, look, you saved us money, we can go ahead, like you said, we can go ahead and put more money in.
Yeah.
But if we can't, then you can't.
Okay, so, snow removal, there's a request for a piece of equipment in snow removal. Again,
What page?
this is page 5 of 7.
What piece of equipment?
What, I thought that was the backhoe or the
Yeah, I
bobcat.
thought it was a Bobcat.
Well, then maybe the other the other line was for a truck or something. I could pull a doc, I could go and grab the file and pull a doc if you guys don't have it. Maybe the mayor will know, cause he's pretty clued in on it.
How often do they talk about how much equipment they need?
They don't ask me about it, but I'm assuming they talk to you guys.
You know, it's, the Bobcat not often, I mean, you know, there's just certain things they need. They got, you know, small stuff, they buy weed, well, I don't know how much of that stuff they buy anymore, but weed whackers and mowers and stuff, I don't think they do. But, you know, the roller, that was a major expense.
The street cutting saw was for the street one.
Oh, the
Cutting is my
saw,
Bobcat.
the
Cutting
street
saw.
cutting saw.
Oh, the saw, yeah.
Okay,
So that's a
new
street-
road
Yeah.
cutting saw.
Okay.
Okay, so
All
the
right.
Bobcat
The
is,
Snow removal,
Bobcat's for snow removal,
right.
the road cutting saw.
So are you telling me that
Okay.
if I were a department head, you would say to me, Brian, I want a 5-year line, and I want you to tell me the equipment you're gonna need.
Well, I'd like to know, yeah, the life expectancy of the trucks that you have, that type of thing, yeah. You know, when do you envision buying a new truck?
I would, Ed, I
Yeah.
would say, yeah, you got a 5-year vision out there for when you're gonna buy a truck. I wanna see the maintenance on that truck. Cause I don't want you coming back 2 years and telling me I need a new truck, when you already told me in the beginning of the year that you weren't gonna trade a truck
Bobcat's
in
on
for
snow.
4 years.
I think what we had established the reserve funds for vehicles now. And Kevin's reserve fund is 10,000, is it?
Yes.
So every 3 years, they get a truck.
Yeah, but I wanna see the maintenance on them.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I wanna see
Small-
maintenance.
small
You're
tractor.
telling me
For the
you're gonna have a
small-
truck for 3 years? If I don't see any maintenance on it, and all of a sudden you come into me and say, you know, this truck
Well-
is gone in 2 years, I don't wanna see it.
It's not just that, the one
Yeah,
truck,
the
it's
tractor, I'm
multiple
assuming
trucks.
is,
So,
I think that's what he
like,
was saying.
let's
was
say 4 or
Bobcat.
5 trucks they have, and then every
Right.
3 years they're adding one and taking one out.
I don't mind doing that, but I wanna see the maintenance on it before you pull it out.
Yeah.
Mayor, there's a clarification, in the street maintenance is for the road cutting saw, the Bobcat's for the snow removal line.
Oh, okay, so that 15,000 was for the saw?
Yeah. Now, I don't know, you know, I'm assuming that's what they cost, I don't know much about it.
Okay.
Um,
Then I don't wanna take that out
With the projections.
unless we have to, because that actually is gonna be a time saver as well as saving on people, where you're not gonna need as much.
the road cutting saw,
Right.
okay, so we're gonna leave that alone,
For now, if we're down to the nitty gritty, then it'll be consideration.
okay.
And that's something I think they're gonna get relatively soon, right after the budget's done, so they can, because they're doing that now.
Okay, so the Bobcat comes out for now,
Okay.
and be revisited, the road cutting saw, I guess, will stay in.
Yeah, that's, you know, something I think that he really needs.
I agree.
I don't really think that they have anything that can cut as deep. The thing that he has is.
Right. And it's gonna be used all departments, which is another big,
Yeah, once they saw with a deeper blade, with a shower saw, they start making cuts and going back, and it's nothing but time. And one of the things that they didn't have the ability to do here on Main Street was all kinds of cement. I don't know the thickness of it. The bigger saw was.
right. They had to actually bring someone in, and the guy didn't do what they wanted to do,
Yeah.
and
So, you know, a saw is essential.
Okay.
So where is the Bobcat?
Bobcats and snow removal.
under snow removal.
Are we changing snow removal?
We're taking it
We're
out.
taking it out,
Okay.
halfway point, depending on the experience of equipment handling.
Kinda, sorta.
Yeah. And again, you know, you as a board will make that determination, you know, if all of a sudden there's another bunch of insurance claims that are not well substantiated in your opinion, then,
I don't care if the well is substantiated or not. If there's a bunch of insurance claims, that's where the money's going.
yeah. You know, essentially,
If
you
you don't
know,
have it, you don't have it.
yeah,
So,
CLG said, based on our experience, we're gonna get a plus up on our automobile policy costs.
Do department heads have binders with the maintenance records of their trucks and equipment?
I
No, I don't think they
believe,
do, do they?
I believe Ford has some stuff in DPW,
No. I,
but I don't know,
What's-
I haven't seen it.
West Point, they had a binder in each
Yep.
vehicle when you got in, you sign in.
yep,
and you
In
log-
fact, the
you log
fire
the miles
department
in.
for the new assistant chief's car I told them that was one of their responsibilities, that they keep a binder.
I'm strongly suggesting that every department head have a binder with maintenance, with anything that goes on. If it's an accident, it gets in there and stuff like that. And then during department meetings, it will be a safety meeting. Gentlemen, this is a safety meeting, bring your binders, I'm gonna see them. In fact, hand them in a week before, we review them, and then we'll be talking about it at the meeting.
Well, the good part about that too, it wouldn't be a mystery how the glass got broken.
Right,
You know, because the next guy gets in, holy, actually, the window's broken, you know?
Well, the other thing too, and this is something that I think the board should discuss, is that if there's an incident, there has to be an incident report written up immediately
Absolutely.
and a drug test done immediately, okay? I'm not sure any of that stuff's happening.
No.
absolutely,
Okay.
an incident report.
And so,
absolutely.
you know, who knows? Maybe some of these things could be caused by things being done that you're unaware of.
Just-
Not saying it is, I'm just saying you gotta rule that stuff out.
Do you have an incident report form?
It's usually turned in by the department heads, they have them, they've been given them.
How timely are they with their submissions?
Not.
Right.
They're not. So there you go.
This goes back to that management thing, so it will be essential for,
They've been told too, it should be even a memo of who, what, where, when, answer all those questions as soon as possible with a memo to the clerk. You know, for insurance purposes.
2 days, no more than 2 days.
Well, I'll tell you
I
right
think
now.
they've been told 24 hours,
My
but if it's a
my
weekend,
recommendation
48.
is the incident report should be, when that happens, the department head needs to take that driver, sit in the office, fill out an incident report immediately.
That goes right
The
in.
reason that they do that is so that if the story somehow changes,
Right,
you can't go off of what you already put on paper, right? Because after you've had a chance, you know, if everything's on the up and up with the situation, then the incident should match 2 days later recollection. What happens, and some other towns have experienced this, the story changes a couple days later, but there's nothing to reference when it first happened, so this changed story is what becomes the fact.
right.
And that's how you can kind of prevent that by, as
Right.
soon as it happens, you need to fill out
Yeah.
with the department heads right there. I want you to fill out, I need to know all the details of the incident.
Right.
And that becomes the record immediately.
Yeah.
So that if later on it's discovered that there's other things involved, you can't go back on what you already wrote down because that's the freshest information you got.
And for those department heads who tell us that, you know, I'm not really good at paperwork, then you can't be a department head.
Yeah, you gotta do it, gotta do it, I agree. Okay?
It's not
Are we,
complicated.
is it too heavy, Mayor? Is this too heavy?
No, this is, but I mentioned the other day, but this is exactly, half of this stuff has been talked about, now it's follow through. And that's what basically I'm looking to Brian for.
Well, not only follow
There's a lot of
through,
this,
but it
no,
ought,
no,
it ought to be.
it's talked about by me.
No, right.
And I'm looking
We'll
for
let
you
know
to,
when the
Right.
department
he's,
heads get
I
crazy.
think that this is something that he's done before.
Exactly.
I think so.
But you
This
know,
might
if
be easier for
you,
him.
if you bring in a department head and you say, you know, this is where you go first for body work.
Yeah.
If someone says I can do it cheaper, you could just call it networking like we do with insurance. That's out of your network, net.
Yeah.
These are the people that you go to, only the people that you go to. You had it in your binder. It's under body shop repair.
Yeah.
You chose to go out of that. Now it's coming out of the budget.
Yeah,
Right.
accountability, I agree.
And
think it's
you know, I don't
important.
wanna seem to be like a hard ass,
No,
but
no.
come on. But some of this stuff isn't, I'm sitting here saying to myself, I don't believe this.
How's this allowed? Yeah.
It's craziness.
and the thing is I actually, on most of this, you're not even gonna be considered a hard ass. What it is we haven't given, and they've never been given that kind of, you know, maybe it was mentioned, maybe it was this and that. We put it in writing, we give them the book, it makes it so simple. With the incident reports they already have are in this binder now, with where you can go, with what to do, with, and have that in there, and that's it. And then to say, oh, I didn't know,
No,
open to page 4, you did know.
Yeah.
And that's something we go over at department head meetings and whatnot, go over the binder. All right, we're doing this,
Mhm.
you know, and as you
There's no time to
said,
review that, yeah.
you know, review what, you know, what did you add in the last 2 weeks?
And the point, you know, with all this is you're going to save money.
Yes.
Because you're
Yeah.
gonna
And get a
have
better product.
standard. Absolutely.
You know, or you can do it, a memo comes out and says, you would review these procedures with the people in your department 3 times a year. Please send me the dates. And put them in your binder. And then you get a copy of the binder, and they say, well, you know, I've really been busy. I say, I didn't get that. So basically, I'm holding you responsible because you didn't review it with people. I did it with IEPs. They had to sign a form saying, I did read the IEP. My next memo was, is it working for you? If not, call a meeting now.
What is IEP?
Individual Education Plan for Children.
Okay.
3 times it went out. I put it in August, December, at the end of May, before we did some stuff with kids. They had to fill it out for me. And when they said they didn't have time, I said, God did tell me that you had time. She really did. Do it.
The good thing about
She-
doing some of this also, with having more of a binder check for each one, is we put the carrots in it. We put the fact that, you know,
Incentives.
we're gonna review 6 months, it's up to you as a department head, bring us your thing, actually have that in the binder. These are the 4 things you could get this year. If your accidents are down, productivity's up, this, that, the other, you know, where did you save money? That's the other thing that we haven't been pushing. We talk about it, but we haven't been putting anything in writing of where did you save money this year? As a department head,
That's his
what
goal.
money did you bring in? What money did you save? I know we've had this conversation 100 times, but we're not, we gotta put it down and we gotta lock them down now.
But if it's a goal, the board reviews the goals. Every 3 months, review the goals. That's all you do at a quick meeting. You don't do your goals, then the letter goes out. You haven't hit your goals. Tell me why you haven't hit the goals. In fact, when you send back that information about the goals, let's say you didn't save money, tell me why you didn't save the money and what are you doing next 3 months to get the money. There's nothing wrong with doing that. And then they know, okay, it comes, all right, I know this crazy man wants a quarterly report. The board wants a quarterly report. Do it. Don't tell me you don't have time. Make time.
Okay.
Just real
So,
quick, along with all these, only because it just happened also. We're talking about goals, we're talking about incentives. A non-cost incentive, PJ is implementing with the police, is going to be a recognition program.
Oh, good.
Yep.
And that's something I think we probably should do in all departments. It really, it's not like we're shelling out $2,000, but it's something that makes a difference to them. Show basic satisfaction of someone's job is huge to some of these people, and having that incentive program of just recognition of this person gets this. I see some of these things in some of the hotels that I, you know, 5 stars and whatnot, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And I know these people, and they come back and say, actually, I really love the fact I got that. And I'm like, it's a game, come
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
It makes a
Yeah.
huge
No,
difference.
recognition
When you're
matters.
recognized for what you do. And even some of my people, like, they wish I was better at it, because I'm not. And so I think that's something we need to implement.
And one
All
step,
departments,
and
I-
one
I-
step ahead of that, it gets published
mhm,
in the
Yes.
paper.
yeah.
Local news, the PW, saves, blah, 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 blah. This
You
one,
could
this
have
one.
Village of Highland Falls Employee of the Month and put
Yeah.
their picture right at
Yep.
the front door there.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, so Bobcat will be off, the saw will stay on. Okay, now we're on page 6 of 7. Under benefits, I re-looked at health insurance just to make sure that I felt we were good, and I've made some adjustments up on health insurance because I think we're maybe a little light. I'm factoring in a 7% increase, which is about what's going on out there. And that is gonna add about $10,000 to the health insurance line. So
Did
my
you
rec-
realize we're supposed to be cutting?
if you have a couple people drop off insurance, then for every person.
I'll work on that.
For every person that, let's put it this way, for every person that drops off insurance, you save 20,000.
Well, we're moving forward on that, right? Talked about the other day.
I forgot to bring that sheet, I forgot to look for that sheet of paper.
We're
Anyone
gonna
have
move
the
forward on
NICOM publications, are they stored up here, or do we
Did
throw
they
them
come with
out?
the big manual?
No, they're magazine,
Oh, there might be one up there.
that. I got them in the office.
What's that?
because it was
7,
in
right?
there.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
6 and 7.
We really need to follow up on that just to see our options.
Oh, one of the things, should be done.
Okay, so if the board's okay, I'd like to add 10,000 to the A-line insurance to 678,949.
Health insurance.
Yes,
What was it, 678?
yeah, 949. Again, I just don't want to be caught short. If we pay less in premiums, then that's bonus for us, but I don't want to be low. Insurance, both health and liability, a mistake like that or too low
Oh,
like
yeah.
that, and it kills your contingency. Okay?
Bob, you wanna say something?
Just remember, Jim was mentioning to me that the guy who comes in on the weekends to monitor the water plant meters has gotta be licensed. I've got the paperwork in the truck, he's gonna show me all the credentials
Okay.
that you have to have, so you can do it with the sewer, but you can't do it with
Is
water.
Jim doing both days right now, or just one day?
I don't know if he's doing both,
One,
You just doing one?
Jack does one and Jim does one.
but you have to be licensed to do the water plant.
Well, the beautiful thing is I have two licensed guys.
That's what I remember you saying that, but I just, for when we're doing that, we're talking about that in the future,
Right.
that guy has essential to have a license.
I like to look into that, we don't need to wait, in my opinion, because he's only coming in, it's not gonna cost any money, it's gonna save us money. He's only coming in to take those extra days of overtime, and he's gonna pay at a lower
Thank you.
scale.
Bless you.
So, did we ever put that out? We never got the job description, right? All right, tomorrow, at the department head meeting, is the last call for job description. We're gonna put that out in media mente, because that's gonna be a good savings as well.
Okay, the last thing on page 7 of 7 that I have the ability to do something with is the street reconstruction principle. The minimum I can pay on this for next year is $25,000. Right now we have it set at 50. Based on everything I'm looking at and our experience with very good interest rates, I recommend for a fund that we pay 25 instead of 50 to give us a little bit more room in the budget. Again, our cost of borrowing is 0.48, so you're looking at $175
Done.
by doing this. It's gonna cost the village $175 more, basically.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Can we get rid of the whole thing? And just about 300.
No, we have to pay something. So we have to pay 25,000. So I was gonna lower that to 25.
Excellent.
Board okay with that?
Now,
Yeah.
the Web Lane Bridge,
Wow.
this is the last year?
This is the last
Last
year.
one, right?
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, that camera's on,
15's the last year.
and your attitude has been duly noted. What's the matter with that?
Why must you be the one, you know?
Okay,
And he's the new kid.
Oh, no.
water fund. Page 101, water fund.
101.
Okay, on the water fund, I increased, I took a look at the metered sales for water. I'll give you just where I'm getting, I needed to come up with another $2,000, because I'm gonna increase the health insurance. 2,000 if the board's okay with that. So what I did was I was looking at metered sales, and year-to-date for metered sales, our first one we had was 296,000. Excuse me, so 296 doubled is 592. Because there's more connections, I added another 7,000 to that, because I think that that's not a crazy assumption. So we're at 599,105. That 2,000 spread between tentative and adopted is because of the plus up of $2,000 on the health insurance line for the F fund. So health insurance, I'd like to move from 44 to 46,000.
Is District 2 hooked up?
They're in the process of it.
Still?
Yeah, because not everybody is hooking up,
Right.
but the Garrison Pond area is largely done, I believe. I haven't been down there in a while, but I know like
School's done already?
school's not. I don't believe the school's done. Yeah.
You are going down in, from a family to an individual in water though. We have confirmation on that.
We are okay.
So there's one family and there's one individual. It's not two family
Okay,
anymore.
I'm still probably like to be on the heavy side,
Okay.
if the board's okay, cause that could change, you never, cause that's the switch of the positions, is that what you're referring to?
No, it's one person going from a family to an individual.
Oh, okay, I wasn't aware of that, okay.
So that shouldn't change.
Yeah, so you're looking at,
Just one. Just one, huh?
10,000.
Well, there's only two people in there.
Yes,
They were two families,
that's
but now
half as
it's
much,
one.
right?
Yeah,
At
so
least.
it's,
about $8,000 less.
See if we can.
When
work
is that?
on
When-
something.
when-
it's in effect.
Oh, it is, okay.
So that's $8,000 probably. would be-
8 to 10.
Yeah,
Wow, huge difference.
yeah.
Okay, well, that's, that, I'm just trying to think of how I wanna do that then. I could factor that in, it's up to the board what you wanna do with that.
I mean, did he have the ability to change 2 months from now, or is it once a
No.
year?
No, it's per an event, and the event is, we've gotten confirmation on that event. He's now an
He's now single.
individual.
Right,
And that won't change, and now if any changes to that, would have to be relooked at apart, if they were to change their status again, whether, because the contract, if the board would wanna take on, an additional, again, to make it family, I think the board would have to approve that since the person is out of their original contract with the
Right.
board, as far as what they're entitled to, as far as coverage of their family. So at this point, it doesn't look like that should change for your next fiscal year. You should be able to continue that it's gonna be an individual.
okay.
Well, here's what I'd like to do then, is I'll still leave the revenue line alone, cause I think it's solid. But I'd like to maybe take 10 or 8 off of the insurance based on this and put it into the contingency.
Let's
Fine.
do 8.
8?
8, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna lower this by
Where you at?
8. This is page 1 of 2 on expenditures, it's gonna go down 8,000, so we'll go to 36. And then I'm gonna add 8 to the contingency. But I took a look at a couple things with contingency. And let me just see what I had to pay for the interfund transfer, 35,000. So I lowered the contingency by 25 to 50. So contingency will go from 50 to 58 based on this development. Okay, if you look on page 2 of 2, you notice under interfund transfers, it went from 13 to 48. That's factoring in the board's decision to move insurance and make sure that the F and G fund pay their insurance premium of 35,000 each. Okay, to pay for that, I had to lower the contingency for the F fund. But the contingency now will go from 75 to 58 because of the 8,000, and I'll make that adjustment.
Do people pay into their medical?
Some do.
Who doesn't?
People that are either been here a long time or are retired from here.
It's contractual.
Retirees don't put anything into, they,
No, they actually get their Medicare, quarterly Medicare
Yeah, they
premium
get
paid.
reimbursed for their
Yeah,
Medicare,
they get
which is
300 and change each for Medicare reimbursement.
$314. And that's monthly or quarterly?
Quarterly.
Was it quarterly?
So it's basically a $1,300 charge for each retiree, and I think we have about 8 or 10.
No more than that.
We do?
but when they leave here, do they take medical insurance with them?
Yes.
And who pays for that? Do they pay certain percentage?
They pay, that's where they take that out at retirement, and they get Medicare back from the village. They retired under their contracts with the village that said they were gonna get health insurance upon retirement,
Fully paid?
yes, and they're dependent.
That's very, very common in municipal arrangements. It's not unusual.
It's becoming less common.
It's because, well, for all new
Right.
employees, they're paying 10%.
The handbook was written for those not in contracts, that now anyone hired after a certain date, they were paying into it.
I
But most of them, employees are under contractual,
understand.
full-time.
I came out of the state and I'm paying $260 a month.
Yeah.
Too.
Right.
But that's because there've been changes along the way, and it doesn't mean this board can't consider that down the road, but right now, this is what you have. Okay?
Okay.
You know, a good example, you know, I mentioned this earlier, you know, the town, the only position that was elected that the town had that got health insurance was the supervisor, and that was eliminated a couple of years ago. So now no elected officials there get it. I disagree with that. I think that the elected officials get paid so little that it's kind of, in the county, most of the towns and villages in the county offer that as kind of a little bit of incentive because the pay's not there. But there's a battle right now in the county going with the tier 3, tier 2 employees who pay nothing. And they're just being asked to pay 1%. That's a big uppity to do with caps and everything else, so.
1%.
Yeah, so just, you know, that's a consideration. One other thing on water revenue, page 1 of 1, I have 210,000 for the outside sales. So basically the water services that we do for outside village. We actually took in 109,000 for the last billing. Double that is 218 with new hookups. I think 220 is probably a better
Okay.
number, revising that. So I'd like to increase that 10,000 for the water
To
rents.
220.
To 220, yes. Okay, and, let me just see if there's anything else in the F fund that we have to go over. I did speak contingency, and I did talk about interfund transfers. Everything else with contingency, or everything else with water is pretty much baked in the cake. All the bonds are baked in the cake. You have your vehicle reserve, and the equipment is minimal. Comp is built in, Social Security, state retirement, all those things are pretty much built in. Okay, so that's your water recommendations. Okay, sewer, 1 of 1. Okay, I took a look at sewer rents based on the latest update. And sewer rents for the village were $1,123,000. With the fact that the water rate increase also affects sewer rate increase, I wanted to bump up the revenue for sewer rents to about 129,000. That's based on the calculations of this year's numbers, and then adding a little bit, because I believe with the increased water usage and the rates,
Okay.
you're going to see that. We've been, you know, here, a good example, we budgeted last year $1.8 million, and we blew that away by over 100,000. So I really want to tighten up the estimate to more realistic. It's good to be conservative. I'd rather be on the short side than on the other side, overestimating revenue. But I think we can move this in and get ourselves a little bit closer. So I'd like to move that number up to about 129,000 versus what I have right now at 192. So just adding about
Wait a-
35,000 to it.
$1,092,000 goes up to $1,129,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, based on a reevaluation of the rents. Okay? Again, in the tentative, I wanted to be very conservative until I saw where the numbers were. And now where I'm seeing where the numbers are, I'd like us to tighten it up a little bit.
Where we have sewer services, other governments, does that include South Post?
I don't believe so. I'd have to look at that account.
Yeah, it should,
Is it South Post?
it should.
Because
There's- Yeah,
isn't that understated?
1,200?
No, I'm looking at what we actually received. That's why I don't believe that's
That's,
going into that category.
That
It could be a
doesn't sound-
categorization issue.
it might not be posted to the system yet. Remember Margaret told you about their issue with their money?
Yeah,
They've paid us, but they haven't paid the penalties. So she's trying to work that out. In the meantime, I don't know that it was posted to their account, that it's paid. So you might not see it when you
But I
look
was-
in the budget.
but I was looking at last year, and last year was the same amount, about 1,200. Last year, if you look, it's 1,200, our actuals were 1,218, 1,219.
That can't be right.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm thinking that maybe it's going into the,
sewer rents.
sewer rents. It's being
Do
combined
do
with sewer
we,
rents.
do we know what we're getting from them?
We can find out. It's-
Yeah, let's find
They,
out.
they allegedly have a meter.
Yeah, well, but,
They
Who reads it though?
They do.
We've had this discussion,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I thought we had broken some ground here. I thought we were reading the mirror, no?
Well,
No.
Kevin has access, I guess, to verify the readings, whether or not he does, I'm not.
Because I know that we didn't in the past.
no, that's correct.
I thought we broke ground, he does have access now to verify the reading, which he
That's my
better be.
understanding, yeah.
I think this number is one small extraneous user right now. I don't know who that is, but the history has been that it's been around 1,200.
Well, that would have been car wash.
I was just gonna say that.
But I mean, he
Yeah,
was,
that's-
yeah, because
That's not
this year's going
accurate then.
15,
Yeah,
15, 18.
that's not accurate then either.
1,000,
Yeah.
not 100.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, I'm thinking that probably it's going into sewer rents. Or maybe we'll have to break it out.
Who's writing that letter, by the way, since it was at the board meeting? Who's writing the letter, tell them to pull out?
Bill, right?
well, Ned was gonna give us permission, I thought, to.
I thought Ned and
Yeah,
Bill were
Ned,
working it out.
Ned I thought was going to
Gonna fire out a
draft
letter.
it
We
for
could follow
us.
up with
Yeah,
that.
so we could
After he
actually
spoke
go
to
on
the
and do what
owners,
we
yeah.
wanted to do, yeah.
Right. And then have the engineer come and look at it and then charge them double for the engineer.
What we'll do is if we're able to find out the exact number before you guys are ready to adopt, I'll make the change on this line. If we don't, we'll fix it mid-year when we get it, or when we get that finalized, and then for next year it'll be broken out.
I do want to track what happens across the way
Mhm.
with the hotel, since that
Mhm.
just is outrageous, so.
It's always been outrageous though, it just.
But now that it's privatized and it's
I know.
competing,
Right.
they've gotta pay their fair share on sewer.
We never got anywhere with those guys over there for
No.
some reason.
Which hotel's that?
The Five Star, which
Five-star.
is now owned and operated by a non-American company.
Is
Dead
IHC
insult to
non-American?
injury, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Intercontinental?
Who's that?
the UK, and it's
Oh,
managed by an Australian group,
it's
or
a
vice
five-star,
versa,
it's a
I always
hotel.
get them mixed up.
No, I think you're right, it's owned by UK and managed by
With those
Australia.
dormitories.
Which that kills me.
Yeah,
We can't get someone here to do it?
You
Just
collect no
boggles my
taxes
mind.
from that group?
right,
Why?
because it's a lease from the federal government, and the Army's giving them cover.
Yep. All right, page 1 of 2 under expenditures. Again, I wanted to increase health insurance here by $2,400. We're not having any changes in sewer, are we? Anybody
No.
aware of? Okay. All right, so I want to plus that up 2,400 to get it closer to where I think it needs to be. And on page 2 of 2, I added in the interfund transfer for insurance of $35,000 to the 13, and that makes it 48. Okay, so what I did, factoring in the recommendations, not knowing whether you guys would be good with them or not, I ran some numbers based on the recommendations that I had. And the raw results of that are, fund balance drops to 235,000. The total amount to be raised by taxes goes to $3,051,000, which still puts you below the threshold that's on there. Tax rate, I think that's a emotional number that we want to keep it below 10, so it's at 9.99. Okay, now again, it will drop if I take, when I do the exemptions and and then we have an ability to get a little bit more revenue if we decide to do that, as far as a tax cap, and then we lower the fund balance. So
What was last year's
last year's total
rate?
rate was 973, I believe.
Yes,
So it's right around the same.
yeah, that's what it was, at
Okay.
9:72.
So 973, and you're looking at potentially about 26-cent increase. Now remember, you can't look as directly on the increase, because remember last year, when the reval kicked in, everything, it was originally like 905, and it went up to 973. But it didn't go up 68 cents because that's what the rate went up. Everybody's tax assessment went down, so the relative was still in this
Not
ballpark.
everybody's.
Well,
Yeah, some people
commercials,
went up
yeah.
dramatically.
commercials didn't, yeah.
Not everybody's.
All right, so, so right now, based on a couple additions that I didn't factor in, because I didn't know that you were gonna be okay with it, was the Bobcat. So the Bobcat gets us to 220,000 of fund balance. Senior Citizen Center, let's see if I factored anything there. I factored the engineer in.
You had a couple of pluses there too.
Well, I had to put the +9 to the purchasing. Equipment, I took the 30,000 for the car. I didn't do anything with the fire department. I put a question mark there, but I didn't touch it, because I knew that there'd be some questions about that. Road cutting saw was left alone. Bobcat's coming off. Senior Citizen Center is 5, that was factored in.
But Bobcat is going into contingency.
Bobcat would be coming out of contingency. You're not gonna plus up contingency, because it's at
Oh,
100,000.
okay.
Okay. I factored in the 25,000 for bond anticipation, the note bond anticipation deduction. So right now, if I take everything, we're at about 230,000
In fund balance?
in fund balance required.
Okay.
And goal is to get to 200. So there's
30,000 more.
So about 30,000 more is what you're considering looking at. And this is just a fund. Your F fund and your G fund are fine. I think you're balanced. I don't think you need to do anything with F fund or G fund.
So you're saying that we need to.
And I don't see you have to do this tonight. What I recommend we do is that I give you an updated budget. And I'm gonna, right now, it's gonna be your adopted, so you'll have adopted lines in there, but I'm gonna cut out the adopted up here, so the header's not gonna say that, it's just going to say preliminary, or it's still tentative, I'll put something there.
So you're not gonna do it tonight, but you're talking about cutting the $30,000.
I'm recommending that you do. I'm not saying you have to. You could go with $230,000 in fund balance and live with that. But my recommendation to the board is for you to look through the budget and see if there's anything else in the more of the minutia part of it. Like, a good example, look at the police budget, right? So the police department has a contingency of $100,433. Last year it was 95,000.
Is that contingency or contractual?
I'm sorry, what did I say,
Yeah,
contingency?
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, contractual. So you have 100,000 there. Is there anything there that maybe, could be called out? Contractual for your dispatchers, 26,000. What else is potentially able to be looked at?
And one thing, the police vehicle, you were taking out 30, it's actually 36,000 that he has in there. So if you're taking only 30, it's 36, and the lettering they added was 750.
So 37,
It's 37 almost.
okay. I thought Kenny was telling us it was 30. Was that the quote that he gave us?
And here, he was going to look for something less, but right now, that's the number you have in the budget.
Okay, so there's another potentially 6,750 that could be lopped off there, on that equipment line.
The street parking salary, we haven't hired anyone, we're using the police, that's 11,000.
Gina's pointing out a good point here. There's another $6,750 for the police car. Do you guys want me to add that? The $6,750? Okay. All right, thanks, Gina.
You think we should leave that?
Um,
Parking
I,
meter person?
I don't, you guys don't have to give me answers today. I
No, no.
just,
I'm just throwing that out there
yeah.
first, so you guys can think about it.
I'm just saying that I would recommend our goal be to be about 200,000 in fund balance. Because remember, every year, you're not gonna be able to use fund balance, you'll run out, okay? Last year, you did really well and fund balance wasn't touched and you had a net 19,000 residual. This year, it's not gonna be the same story, but if some of these lines that are existing here that I talked about don't get touched, then maybe we're looking at a 250 fund balance. And out of that, you're gonna get about 60,000 back in re-levy-ish, okay? So, it's a goal, as Brian says. The goal is to be around 200,000. If we're at 230 or if we're at 250, it's not gonna be the end of the world, but it's just going to make it tighter for you in future budgets.
On, street administration salary overtime, I thought we just got a 20 straight, what would the overtime before?
Street administration salary overtime, I don't know, it was put in as a, it was
Done, it's on
500.
5, take that out.
Are you sure?
I'll find the next 20 in 5
Should
minutes.
probably find out why that was in there.
Well, I'd like to look at
I could
just,
look it up.
Right.
Why don't I look into it?
let me throw a couple things out, you, everyone can look at what they feel. I'm looking at on-street parking salary. At this point, the officers are doing it,
What page on
it's,
that?
Page
4 to 7.
47.
Toward the top, on-street
Yeah.
parking. At this point, the officers are doing it, and we've actually had Walter be a part of the actual fixing of them rather than, and which he's more capable of doing that than, anyone we hire below whatever. So there's 11 right there. That's, at least we'll look at, I'm not saying tonight, I'm not saying cut anything, but that's one. The 500, I think we should look at, and
I'm gonna cut out anything on the fire department, because I got the impression that that's off limits, so I left that alone.
I didn't say anything.
Is it off, it's off limits because of its importance in the village, or?
Well,
Yeah,
Charlie's the main representative, and these are things that they've talked about, and they've demonstrated they need it.
and also the fire department is one of the most active in terms of trying to get grants and.
Because I'm just wondering if the police are gonna come back and say something, that's
No.
all, no, okay.
The overtime for snow removal,
volunteers.
Right, okay,
Mhm.
got it.
this is a goal. Use more words here. I'd like to drop 5,000 off of that, and our goal would be to look for some part-timers that can be there instead of having 16 to 24-hour shifts. These guys, which would drop our overtime considerably. I think that needs to be something we look into this year.
Say that again?
I would like to look for part-timers
For police,
for snow removal,
so remove.
so that we don't have the 16 to 24-hour shifts. And this would drop the overtime amount considerably. And that's something that I think we need to look into, find out what we can do about it, And I'm just putting it, I'm not crossing out 5,000, because we may not be able to do it. But that's something we had talked about, and we have about, realistically, at least 24 people in the community that snowplow for a living,
Right.
that are not part of the crew, that wouldn't necessarily be plowing their accounts like we plow the village. Whether it's plowing during the storm or the aftermath of getting rid of it. That operate the exact same vehicles. That could be hired so that instead of having a 16 to 24-hour shift for an individual, which is dangerous,
Yeah,
we bring in a part-timer at a much lower rate. Now, it's not overtime.
Driving their vehicles or ours.
yeah.
I think we look into both.
Well, this
Well-
52,000, is that contractual with other
I think that's
people
like salt
and
and
their-
stuff, right?
Yeah, but you guys need that, you spent almost 64,000
Yeah.
this year.
I'm not talking about touching the.
Okay, you spent $35,000 on overtime for the snow line this year.
Okay, so I think it's safe if we, again, I'm not crossing anything out. I think we're looking to go to 200, that we peel 5,000 off of this and really seriously look at, are we better off, two different scenarios. Hiring a couple of qualified part-timers that do this for a living, not some 17-year-old that wants to drive a truck. Or utilizing the 10 to 12 vendors in our community of run the numbers and see if it's better that they use their own truck to cover specific areas even, and then we don't do those areas.
Well, I think also,
I don't know the insurance requirements.
I was just
so-
gonna ask my question.
well, they
Who
have
covers
to,
the
they have to
insurance?
have insurance.
All right, I'm working in a municipality, all right? Something happens and my insurance says, we don't cover municipalities, they cover you because you're a subcontractor.
They have to have insurance policy that says that the municipality is an additional insured.
Okay, that's what I'm asking, they
Yeah.
have to do that then?
Yes,
So that they'll
absolutely.
have to have a limit that we would require them to have.
Right.
Right, and I don't wanna have this
Well,
conversation tonight,
million-
because we'll be here all night.
Yeah.
Million
No, I agree.
liability.
But I'd like to look at that, we've talked about it last
I
year,
had the same question.
we never really looked at it. But it's something to look at now,
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
rather than in October,
Right.
when we really need to get on it, and make a decision, and then we can put it out there.
Well, you gotta remember too, things got out of hand a couple of years ago, because remember
Oh,
there was,
vividly.
we were paying for fuel too, I think. Were we not?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh,
first of
okay.
all.
All right.
Let's stick to the budget, please.
Yeah, it keeps getting sidetracked on that. What's wrong with this guy?
I'm trying to work here, I've got another 5,000 off. and we're-
Yeah, you're
we're
doing
dealing with it.
great.
I don't know.
Okay.
All right, right off the bat, we could take the 15,000 off, I'm working, 15,000 off parks for mowing, because I will move that to the town. Again, it's a goal.
Well, you just got your
A goal.
mowing, you just got your mowing bid.
Yeah,
You got your mowing bid for 15,000 is the right number.
Is that what it is?
It's been
It's if
a
I
lot- I
don't
think
move
it's
it to the
14
town.
and change, if I
It's
remember.
$10 less than that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If I don't move to the town before we spend it.
yeah, but you don't want it, otherwise you're gonna have some issues. I would wait.
I'm taking 15 off. I need to bump up beautification of the 5,000. I'll get another 3,000 for band concerts.
Oh, man.
Your statement before is saying, don't count on the extra monies that we have this year, next year. You would like to get it to a certain,
Well, you're not gonna be able to go into fund balance every year to prop your budget up. The tax cap is making it tougher, it
I
really is.
understand that. So, well, we all agreed that it'd be financial goals for every department head. Would it be asking a lot, just as a pilot, to say, this is your budget, you gotta save $5,000, each department head? This is your budget, but it's not, it's minus 50, it's minus 5, because that's what you're gonna save.
Yeah, well, personally, if
That's
you-
15,000
if the
right
board
there.
is able to get the efficiency with management and management decisions, you'll find your
Oh, yeah.
$200,000.
No question.
You'll find it.
I still think that this, training for those guys, I can't, this all goes back to that.
It does.
Uh,
Yeah. Look, Gina's having the two clerks do some accounting training, and that's just gonna help them be better at looking at things, deciding, recommending, being more aware. Training is never a negative.
I got another 6,000, street cleaning and refuge. I just wanna double check, we have the green light for
On the
dumping now.
leaves.
Is this 3,500?
Yeah, but remember last time we got caught off guard
No, because we didn't
bu-
have somewhere to put
we
it.
didn't budget
No,
anything.
you didn't budget,
Yeah.
but that,
And
that
then
was
we
not
got-
for leaves,
That-
that was
that's what I'm
for
asking for.
tires and rubbish.
Okay, then we
that
won't touch that.
Won't compost.
Yeah, we don't wanna get caught off guard.
On the street cleaning, is there a reason we went from 7 to 10? Did we spend 10?
It was the recommendation of Kevin. I'll tell you what you spent so far. You spent $810 so far.
Of 10,000?
He has in here that 3,000 is for repairs of the street sweeper.
Right, which is why I would
But-
like to
but-
go
but
back
I-
down to 7.
But you gotta be
3,000.
careful, cause I got a pile of bills up there that
I
I
know.
don't know what they apply to. They could go to this line, I'm not sure. I think they're not, I don't believe they are, but I think they're mostly the 5110. But, yeah, right now, you've got 7,000 budgeted and $810 have been spent. So you wanna drop through, you wanna go back to 7 on this?
I'd like to drop it to 7, and I still think we have even if we have 3,000, basically, the contractual on it is basically just a street sweeper, really. That's it. So, I mean, if we have repairs on it,
Well, 2000, if you look, 2013, you budgeted 7, you spent 4,700.
right. I'd like to drop it back down to 7, that's 3,000 right there.
Which line is this?
This is
Street cleaning.
street cleaning.
Page 6 of 7.
I don't wanna drop it lower than that, because I actually would like to,
Well, there's repairs, he budgeted 3,000 for repairs.
right,
So if there's 3,000 for repairs, then maybe what you wanna do is if they spent 4,700 2 years ago,
Knock it to 8.
knock it to 8.
no, because that 47 was also part of repairs.
What repairs were they doing, you know? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so you want it
I
7?
want 7, I want 3. Tell you what, I'll take 8 if you give me 1,000 off of refuge.
You gotta keep that, I'm telling you, we
Then I
got
want
killed,
7.
we
Then
got
I
killed
want
by
7.
that. All right,
I
so,
didn't mind, I want that up.
so we're gonna -3
Sorry.
on street cleaning. -3 on street cleaning. Okay,
With the street cleaning, we can always, they're doing an excellent job with that, but they're not doing what I've asked. They're still running the sweeper without closing down a road, and that to me is useless, running in the middle of the road. They need to clear a side.
oh, yeah, so
And
they're
actually
not
get the
getting it
actual-
into the corners?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So what's the point? And if we get some kind of an issue, they've had years, and not so much the $800 a year, because actually it ran a lot last year. But they've had years where it broke down towards the beginning of the season and it wasn't fixed, ever, till the following year. So I mean, there were the years where it wasn't being used.
Yeah.
So I mean, if that happens, if we run out, that could be an issue, that we don't need it,
Okay.
per se. But they
Okay.
also have to utilize it properly.
All right, so I'm gonna plug all this stuff in, and I will have, when can I get this to you? I can have it in your boxes by this weekend. And it'll be for you guys to look at, and then when do you wanna have a follow-up meeting? Is the goal to adopt this budget for the second board meeting, or do you guys feel you need more time?
I think
Because-
second board meeting would be fine, right?
Because I have to do the constitutional tax limit, and I have to file the tax cap. So I am thinking I could do it and get it all done, but I want to make sure that you guys are realistically believing we'll have a budget agreed to for the meeting. Because you don't have to adopt until May 1st.
Okay. I'll see what Pat wants to do.
Okay,
It'd be different if we weren't close.
yeah. Yeah, you're close. You're close. So, all right, we'll leave that, you know. I'll get everything to you for the weekend, so look at your boxes Monday morning or whenever you can get here, and it will be pretty darn close.
So, Then you wanna set a meeting that week to finalize it, to be sure?
Oh, yeah,
That'll
we
be a
have to,
special-
we
that will be a
absolutely have to,
special
have-
meeting?
we have to have a finalized special meeting. I'm just thinking, next week, do we wanna do next Wednesday?
Tax day?
Oh, that's tax day, that'd be tough. How about
I
Thursday?
remember that.
Here,
Thursday here, how about Thursday? You know,
That's the
I'm
16th.
hoping that I'm not gonna be sweating it out Wednesday with my taxes, but, I think probably Thursday would be good. That'd give us, and then we'll know whether or not we're ready to adopt
Thursday
or
at
not.
7.
Thursday at 7, that's, Thursday the 16th.
16th.
Okay, so 4/16 at 7 PM.
So I can publish it, post it.
Okay,
Once
All
you
right.
confirm with Pat.
okay, so we'll put that down if, when the mayor gets back, we'll ask him if there's anything there. Okay, so that's all I have for the budget. Is there anything else that you guys need from me or anything else that, questions? We're getting there. I'm pretty we're like 95%. You know, as long as there's an agreement that 200,000 is good, I'm putting that out there. As long as you feel that, you know, you could say, you know what, we don't want to spend any fund balance, but then you really got a lot
Oh,
of
then
cutting
we're
to
in
do.
real trouble.
Yeah,
well, we also all agreed that each department head is gonna give back so much money.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're gonna need to get.
You know, when you read the papers, more and more people are asking the department heads, you need to cut back this much, this percentage is coming off.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're you know, there's
Except
certainly
the fire department.
certainly gonna need to be buy-in.
Well, no, I'm not asking for buy-in, what I'm saying is that, let's say you give Kevin so much money, but it's really not that much money, it's -5 of that. And then his job throughout the year is to make sure that he saves that 5.
Yeah.
That's all I'm
But there's a
asking.
lot of different categories. So is it 5 aggregate that you're recommending?
Whatever the board thinks is the
Okay.
best. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You say, you know, this is here, but it's really -5 because you're gonna give us back 5,000. That's your job as a department head. Where
Okay.
can you cut?
I'd be thrilled to death that they manage their budget and board.
Yeah.
But let's say that,
I like your.
right, let's say that they don't give us 5, they only give us like maybe 3.5. At least they're gonna get the idea that this is gonna happen.
Hey, Mayor,
Yeah.
I'll have updated budget
Alright.
in your boxes for Monday morning. Thursday at 7 PM, revisit for potential of adoption at your meeting. Don't have to adopt at your meeting. You have till May 1st. I'll know, again, I have 2 main things I have to do after this. I have to do the constitutional tax limit, and I have to file a tax cap and tax freeze paperwork. So I believe I should be able to get it done at that time frame. If I'm at Thursday finding that I might need a little more time, I'll let you know, and then we might just have to have adoption meeting after the main meeting, okay? All right, so next meeting then will be the 4/16 Thursday at 7 PM. Okay, all right, the only other things that are left are executive session material related to personnel and contractual issues. So if the board wants to,
I need a motion moving exec.
How do you make the motion?
Second,
Second,
all's in favor?
aye.
Let's end with, this Cole's got you kind of a Barry White kind of thing, so. that's kinda
Yeah.
cool, actually. You dig it?